G'day ladies and gents, welcome to War Thunder with Mags, and welcome aboard the A6M3 Mod 22 code. Now I was really hoping to have some dev server content to show you today. Unfortunately I don't. I ran into a small problem. By the time I was notified of the server going up at 4 AM my time and managed to get the actual dev server client updated and ready to log in, the dev server had already gone down. Once again, Gaijin's up to its usual tricks of putting up a development test server for 2 hours. I still cannot fathom who the fuck they expect to be able to test anything in the game in 2 hours. I can spend 2 hours just checking out the interface options without touching a single aircraft inside the game. So with a lack of dev server footage, I figured I will bring you the one shining gem of a battle that I had in amongst last night's, well, massive splurge of team killing that was going on for both sides. I really don't know what was going on with the servers, but this was the only match where there wasn't rampant team killing by both teams. Of course, it does help on that front when you bring half of your own team with you. I'm flying out with AXA Combat Wombat, both from NS Squadron, and Grievous for this match. And we're all flying A6M3s. So my first target is up, a B-25J. Now as a general rule, I don't go after these things in zeros. I leave heavy fighters or KI-84s to deal with them first. They're far better armed and far better built to deal with these sort of aircraft. Unfortunately, we have a noticeable lack of them on this team, so focusing on that right wing, shear it off, and then get the hell away from those gunners. First kill. Now after that kill, my goal was to head back over to the island for cover, but I realised Combat's dropped in on my 6. He's trying to defend me from a P-51 that was going to cover the B-25. He's had to dip out, and this P-51 is going to cause us problems the whole way through this match. He's actually a very, very, very good pilot. It's rare to see P-51 pilots that know their planes as well as this guy did. Knows staying in this area is a bad idea, firewalls the throttle and just gets the hell out of there. There's just no way for us to keep up with him. However, we have the rest of the team on their tail, and they are not quite so on it. Just dipping the nose down slightly, I want to get a little bit of airspeed up. I'm just tracking this P-51. I've sort of already recognised him. He's going to be a damn hard pilot to take down, so I want him eliminated. He's sitting right over the top of our base. He can basically boom us with impunity at the moment. We need to get him back to low altitude. But I'm also tracking what we've got behind us. Now there is a 4-man squad on the enemy team, and they look like they're okay pilots. JG3. So I begin my turnaround, ready to face the rest of the enemy team, and a B-25 comes booming through, thinking it's a heavy fighter. One, you're fighting against the Japanese that can easily outmaneuver you, with no problems whatsoever. We do have to be cautious of your defensive gunners, but that's all you've got. Secondly, this map requires that ground attackers clear the beach, otherwise the American forces cannot win. What the hell is a B-25 doing up here fighting fighters when it should be on the deck, clearing the way to make sure that a ground victory is possible? And once again, Captain Trick is showing us how to fly a P-51. He's just boomed back through the formation again, and he's exiting out the other side. He took no kills, but he did make Captain and the Puma player in the A6M5 scramble for cover as he boomed through the area, and he's exited out the other side, making a turn back to do it again. Now, so long as he keeps doing this, he's going to be incredibly hard to take down. Thankfully, the rest of the team seems to be very little inclined to do the same thing, with P-51s already beginning to engage zeros in turn fights, and, you know, I love it when they do that. Just trying to get my airspeed up again. Over the target again, this P-51D. It's just out of gun range. I'm waiting for it to turn back, and here's my opportunity. Not quite enough lead. Switch over, raise the flaps. I need to get the airspeed back up so I can keep up with him. Out-turning him even with the flaps raised isn't a problem. Some good solid hits. A few more in, and there's my second kill. So I immediately dropped combat flaps and reversed my turn. That buzzing sound in the background there was Captain Tricky and his P-51 passing back over the top of me again. Now after avoiding that boom, I'm back to hunting targets again. There's a B-25 at low altitude that I'm checking out, but it doesn't look like a viable target. There is a P-51 that is in close. He's a much better kill. Just keeping the turns tight. The team's making him manoeuvre and slow down, which is good. Fold the plane up, full wep, dive down as fast as I can. I need as much airspeed as I can to catch this P-51. Unfortunately, it doesn't look like I'm going to get it. That B-25 is starting to hit ground targets. I was about to go that way when, once again, I have boom come through. Combat flaps into a loop, aileron roll, line up, and pull straight on the back of my boomer. Diabolo is moved to dive on another one of our teammates and secures a kill on him. First burst through misses. Drop combat flaps to tighten my turn. Lead ahead and take the wing. Third kill. So 3 kills secured, and I've still got 41 rounds of cannon ammunition and 712 rounds of MG ammunition on board. Unfortunately, we've ran the team out of their lower skilled players. The guys that are left are actually pretty good. F4U goes vertical. It's looking like a viable target. I'm just keeping an eye on Captain Tricky at the moment. I want to know exactly where the hell he is and what he's doing. F4U on high, F4U. Just trying to work out where everybody is and what the best move to make is. Reverse around, I'm going to go for one of the F4Us. And Nalar dives in as well, so I have 2 F4U targets to go. Now I have a limited amount of time with these guys, and I know Captain Tricky will be back any second once he sees us all engaged. Try for some vertical shots, and I aim poorly. I get a strong critical hit, but that is it. Trying to lead with the MGs, and I'm just getting sparks on the wings, no connections at all. I'm aiming extremely poorly here. Now in amongst all that bad shooting, I've nearly stalled myself out, so nose back at the ground, put the weapon to full and get as much airspeed as I possibly can. Once again, good captain, he's coming back in for another pass. Change directions. As long as I'm engaged with an aircraft at the moment, I should be pretty safe from him, because I'll be turning hard. And I just can't get these MGs to connect. He's right there, and I just cannot get these guns to connect. Down to 376 MG left. He's just diving away. I've been running the WEP all along to try and keep up with him through these turns, because he is in the faster aircraft. I've put the plane to the point where the timer has come up for the overheat, so I am going to have to cool down the engines within the next 60 seconds or so. Now, as at this point, I see the blip on the radar, and I realise I'm being baited. Stand on the elevators as tightly as I can. As Death Roy passes over in his P-51, I take a minor hit to the fuselage, no severe damage, but that could have been fatal. At this point, I decide I've got 141 rounds of MG left on board. I'm a little over 60 seconds out of the engine dying from overheat. I'm going to have to kill the engine in order to drop the temperatures on it. I need to put this thing back on the ground. Now this is going to be an interesting landing because there's so many enemies at such a close range. But first things first, I just have to get out of the flak swarm being thrown up by all their destroyers and cargo ships. I've noticed they still haven't made any changes to the cargo ships at all. They still have more guns on them than destroyers, and are one of the most dangerous things in the game to aircraft at the moment. Now I'm getting pretty close to the island shore. This island has 3 or 4 major runways on it. All of them are usable for repairs. I'm going to go for the closest one and put down fast. I want to get back in the air and back into combat as quickly as I can. The problem is these guys are only 5 or 6 k's off the coast. They're actually going to see me when I land. I will be within visual range. I could go to one of the runways on the far side of the island to pull myself out of range, but that's a longer flight time to get the repair, a longer flight time to return, and longer that my team is going to be with an aircraft completely out of the fight. So I'm going to take the risk, put down fast, and hope that I can get off the ground without getting my ass strafed out. Pretty standard landing here, just throttle all the way back. I did it right before I started initiating my 90-degree turn. That kills all the airspeed that I need to be able to safely drop the landing gear and put down. Combat flaps down to wheel touch, start applying the brake. As I see the plane starting to lift a little bit, I refold the flaps back up and redeploy them once I've dropped safely below landing speeds. And at this point you have no idea how much I was wishing that they had had arrestor systems on ground-based runways, so I could pull this thing up faster. So, down clean and safe, the timer is starting, and Captain Tricky has spotted me. 7.3k is out, and here he comes. Now 15 seconds till repair and rearm completed. That looks like I've got plenty of time, but then you've got to recount the time it takes to 0 to actually get up to speed and get off the ground. I have to get this thing to combat speed, ready for him to intercept me before he can cross a gap of 77 kilometers. And he's down to 5.3 and I'm only doing 50 kilometers down the runway. 4.3, he's closing fast. Grievous is dodging back, ready to provide me some assistance. However, he's basically out of ammunition at this point. Now, I normally prefer to give 300 a shake on the runway before I lift, but I haven't got enough time. Under 200 and I'm off the ground. I've got to turn in and get my airspeed up in the air, ready to manoeuvre, or at least duck underneath him. I get off the ground into an acceptable combat speed with a K and a half left to spare. Now Grievous is engaging Tricky, and I've just spotted Nalar and Deathray approaching in from the south. Tricky makes a pass on me. Grievous gives me a split second's worth of warning, so I stand on the combat flaps and just pull the plane out of his way. Drop back in behind. He's booming out of the area. He's not silly enough to dogfight with 2 zeros. Deathray's still 3.4 out, but Nalar is nearly on top of us in his F4U, and he has dogfought with us before. He was very lucky to survive. Roll the plane over and slot in on his tail. He dips it away, gains speed. I do try some shots, but nothing's going to stick. He pulled out of range too fast. Corsair is fast, and he's keeping his energy on. They're all starting to fly like Tricky, which is a problem. Now, you can take out faster boom and zoom aircraft in the 0, but it requires you to get your timings right. You've got to begin the turn before the enemy aircraft makes it to your location, so that you complete the turn and drop in on their tail right at optimal gun range. You'll only have a split second to pull the trigger to kill the target, but with practice it can be done. Deathray makes his pass on me. Now at this point I started to realise that I've been given priority status by this enemy team. They want me dead because I'm first place on the leaderboards. Here comes Tricky for his. Stand on the combat flaps once again, take it over, pull it into a half loop to drop into his tail. I was never going to get guns on him at this point in time. This was just evasive flying. I wanted to make them keep passing over the top of me. Now the interesting thing, the most dangerous aircraft that I'm giving rating to at the moment, besides Tricky for his flying, is actually Nalar and his F4U. The reason is he actually landed on the carrier. He's fully repaired, fully refueled and fully rearmed. The two P-51s are not. There was no soft landing or crash indicator given for Deathray while he was out of visual range, which means he was likely only providing top cover for Nalar while he went in to land on the carriers. He's still operating on fuel and ammunition loads from the start of the match, and he's been in a lot of fights. The same goes for Tricky. Tricky has been in this fight since the word go. He has never RTB'd, so he is still running on his same fuel and ammo load that he started with. Now, fuel load is likely 45 minutes, so he's not in any danger of running out anytime soon, but ammo has to be starting to get scarce. Just keeping the camera back on Nalar for a few moments. Deathray's getting ready to make another pass. Captain Tricky is passed out of Grievous's range. Just quickly change direction. Combat flaps over. Roll around. Deathray moves to follow Captain. Now I've got a split glimpse of Nalar at 1.92 and closing from behind, so dip the nose back down. 1.78. Looks like he's going for Grievous more than me, but he will pass over one and move for the next. Captain comes back. Pull it up and just roll it out of the way again. Let him pass over. As I pull it through the loop, Tippy dives in his A6M3 to engage. Nalar moves to engage him, so I move to engage Nalar. Deathray is still off into the background at the moment, but he is likely coming in a second. Just move to check heads, and he's not. He's 4.11 and falling away. He's out of ammunition. Now he's about to head back to the carriers for a repair and a rearm, so that's him out of the fight for the moment, which is excellent. At this point I see Nalar go high. most valuable target on the team because he can actually repair, get shots in, and fireball. 4th kill. As I'm looping out, however, Captain Tricky comes through, lights me on fire, and takes my wing off, and I'm out of the match. So 4 kills for the battle. So no, I didn't survive this match, and it wasn't even a win, but it was one of the most fun matches I've flown in some time. Very well flown to Captain Tricky. I was bloody impressed. It was brilliant flying, brilliant shooting. Now from this point the match progressed into a 1v1 versus Grievous and Tricky. Unfortunately they both ran out of ammunition and both had taken critical damage in the form of the fight, and ended up ramming one another on the final pass. So why this match went to the Americans, as they had a superior number of tickets, not a single player survived the match. So results for the match. First place for the team with 4 kills. The whole squad wound up in the top 6. Special shout outs to Granschwitz, I'm not sure how to pronounce that, and Tippy Tops Gaming. Rewards for the match were First Strike, Teamwork X2, Fighter Rescuer X3, Winstreak X2, the Best Squad, Balancer, and a 7,500 Silver Lion Battle Trophy, 48,525 Silver Lions, and 2,483 Research Points. On a premium account, no doubles, no modifiers, just base RP. So, not a win, but just another one of those fights that you don't care if you lose. The whole battle was excellent from start to finish. There was no dicking around. Everybody was just in it. It was competitive. It was just fun. These are the fights that I play War Thunder for, and I want more of them. And I don't care if I don't win them. They were just great from start to finish. Great battles with some great flying. Anyways, ladies and gents, I hope you enjoyed this video. Click like if you do, subscribe if you want to see more. Fly smart, fly safe, and I'll catch you in the skies.